guys, and welcome back to another video. I hope that you are doing amazing. We have a little special guest here with mommy. He's getting ready to just go down for a nap, but he just wants to be on mommy. But today's video is going to be a realistic update on what the last 7 weeks have been like. I can't believe that it is already 7 weeks since little baby boy was born, but I have lots to share. Just a realistic breakdown of what life is like with a newborn, how things change, what your body goes through, just like all the stuff. Like, there's a lot to talk about. So if you want to know what life has been like with a newborn for the past 7 weeks, well then you know what to do. Just keep on watching. Y'all, I was gonna do my makeup and like get dressed and stuff, but I'm like, who am I kidding? This is literally what I look like 99.9% of the time, and even more messy. Like, I let my hair down because, you know, we don't post this on the internet. Can't be looking fully crazy. But Preston definitely sees mommy looking completely wild with her hair all over the place, right? So like I mentioned in the intro, we are 7 weeks postpartum. Preston came into our world 7 weeks ago, and oh my goodness, I want to definitely just make this video, number one, so that I can remember what I felt at this time period, because I'm so big on taking pictures and like capturing videos of how I feel at the moment, and then I love to just go back and like kind of be in that moment once again. And I just wanted to capture what it's like right now, and honestly, it's been quite a journey. It's been quite the journey, and I would just say one of the key words, honestly, that just keeps coming up is just the word overwhelming, and trying to work through that feeling. There's a lot going on. First of all, let's just talk about what's going on with mom. Like, your body, you're healing from one of the like most laborious works you've ever had to do, which is form this baby and then give birth to this baby. Like, the first few weeks, you're just a continuous blood flow. Your boobs are starting to form the milk to feed your baby. Your hormones are dropping and rising, and there's just so much going on. And then on top of all that, you now have a precious little baby that you basically have to keep alive. So week one, I would definitely say, was the week of just like adapting, right? For us, he came 3 days after he was born because he was in the NICU. So in the NICU, he was getting bottle fed and he was getting formula. Now, I was taking colostrum for him so that he can at least get that, but he was getting bottle fed, which honestly wouldn't have been my preference on going originally. I would have loved to have been able to breastfeed and like latch and all of that stuff. But once again, things don't always go as you plan, right, little buddy? And he was induced. So I have my birth story. I'll link it here or put it in the description down below so you can just be a little familiar with our story. But since he was induced and he was on the smaller side, he definitely had to get bottle fed. And one of the most important things when he was out was making sure that he was getting sufficient food. So measuring and making sure that he was getting enough ounces was like key. So breastfeeding wasn't necessarily really ideal within that first week because you don't really know how much the baby is taking in. It's just kind of going based on if they're full, if they're peeing in their diaper, just like regulating things like that. So for us, the focus was obviously making sure that he was getting sufficient milk. So he was introduced to the bottle, and then when it was time to latch to the boob, he was not having it. Like, he'll try, but he's like spitting out at it, or he'll suck for a little bit and then stop completely because he's just like, this is too much work. And they did tell us that in the hospital, that because he was on the smaller end, it did require a lot more energy for him. So we kind of just stuck to the bottle. But with bottle feeding and trying to produce enough breast milk, you basically are exclusively pumping. So I have been exclusively pumping literally since he came out, and that sort of kind of looks like every 2 to 3 hours. And honestly, at some point I fell off, and because I fell off, then you get engorged boobs, and oh my god, for those of you who know, you know, and that is no fun. Like, I literally do not wish that on anyone. The feeling of the engorgement is just like your boob is literally rock solid, and there's nothing you can do to like soften it up and just get that out besides literally like jumping in the shower and taking a hot shower and just letting that melt. but obviously also you have to be accessible or have time to jump into the shower and someone to watch the baby. So that on its own has just been, oh my goodness. I literally say to everyone, every time everyone asks me, how you doing? Like, how's postpartum? Honestly, everything is fine except for the boobs. Like, I did not know that the breastfeeding, the breast milk production journey was going to be like this. So because I've been exclusively pumping, I've been trying out different pumps. I had the even flow originally, but that one is like you have to sit down and essentially kind of just like hold the suctions onto your boob and like basically set aside 30 minutes every 3 hours to do nothing but pump. So I started looking into hands-free ones, and I did try the Mom Cozy, and I also have this other one that I found on Amazon, and that's been the one I've been using, and I've been liking that one the most. But honestly, your poor nipples are also just going through it, like every 2 to 3 hours continuously just being suctioned. That it is just quite the journey. So besides all that, then there's also you trying to keep up with the supply for your baby. So when you are exclusively pumping, you are trying to get enough milk so that your baby has to be able to drink. Now for me, I got really sick, I would say about 3 weeks in. Like, I think it has to do with mastitis, I believe is how you pronounce it. And it's when like basically your milk hasn't completely like come out. So you can pretty much get like either an infection, and that can feel like you literally have the flu, you have body aches, like all of that. So I had that one day and I could not for the life of me, like I couldn't even touch my boob. It was so painful. The only way that I was able to get rid of it is literally hopping in the shower for God knows how long and just letting the hot water run. I also tried the cabbage leaf, which I had heard about before, but I feel like ever since then my milk supply kind of decreased a bit. So then there comes the guilt of like feeling like you're not producing enough milk for your baby, and then having to introduce formula again. And I really didn't want to give him formula, not that there's anything against it, but I just wanted to give him breast milk because obviously the breast milk has like the most vitamin, like everything that he would need. But that was also challenging too, and I would try my best. Like, I'm like, okay, he's on his last bottle, I need to pump, and when I would pump, not enough milk would come out, and then he's trying to drink more milk, and I'm just like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to give him formula. I can't let him starve. Like, there's that. So that is the mental aspect, let's just say, of the guilt of not being able to produce enough or wanting to produce enough, and also just wanting to make sure that you can give him what he needs. And then there's obviously also just like the emotional part, and I feel like I haven't really experienced much of the emotional aspect as some other women might have, but overall you definitely still feel like, I don't want to say lonely, but it does feel like no matter how many people are around you and no matter how much help you have, you are still doing this by yourself. Because at the end of the day, you are the one that has to produce this milk. You are the one that has to grab the baby and put him to sleep, or you are the comfort for that baby. So no matter how much help, like let's say dad wants to put around, or grandma or grandpa, like you are the default parent that pretty much has to do it all for the baby, because the baby literally only and mostly knows you, and is also just adjusting to the world. So as he's gotten older, like these last 2 weeks, he's definitely becoming more aware of mama, which is really cute. Like I can see that he stares kind of like at the forehead. I don't think he's found the eyes yet. I think that's a little older, and now he's kind of just like smiling a little bit more. Before he would just smile in his sleep, but now he's been smiling while he's awake, which is really like super cute. I'm really excited to see as he continues to get bigger, all of the milestones that he achieves, and like being able to give eye contact and smiling and things like that. But overall, I would say it has been the most beautiful but also the most challenging journey, experience, whatever you want to call it, so far. And I just wanted to capture it because it's a lot. It's a lot, and I'm used to doing a lot at the same time, and I don't like to ask for help, and I tend to want to do things on my own. And this is just something that it's been a new challenge, and it challenges who you are, it changes who you are, but it definitely for the most part has made me slow down so much, where it's just like it's not my routine anymore, it's his. I'm so happy that I'm able to have maternity leave where I get to spend this time with him, but also being with him, and that he wakes up every hour to 2 hours every day feels like an eternity, but then every week feels so fast. It's kind of like pregnancy in that sense. But overall, super thankful to God, obviously, for being able to have a baby, for being able to even produce milk, for able to have a healthy baby, to have a partner, to have family that want to be involved and that want to help. But I definitely don't want to neglect the realistic feelings and updates that you feel as a first-time mom. You've never done this before. I've taken care of children, I've babysat children before, so the taking care part of kids to me isn't new, but for me, I find the biggest challenge has just been the toll that it takes on your body and how in sync your body is with your baby, which is also crazy. Like, it's insane how God just like programmed and created and designed all of it, where literally you are everything for your baby. So that is so special, but it's also so taxing on you. And so that is my recap of what the past 7 weeks have been like. Obviously, they tell you there's no sleep, and it's true. You can take turns with your partner, but honestly, you really never fully sleep. You kind of just like, do I hear him? If you hear him crying, you're just like, is he okay? If you hear him whimpering, you're like, he's okay. And during this stage, they make a lot of noise, especially while they're asleep. Especially little Preston over here. He is such a grunter. He's just like, the whole time in his sleep. So that honestly doesn't really let you go to sleep, because you're just trying to make sure, like, are you okay? Are you good? Or is this in your sleep? So you don't really get much sleep, which honestly, I'm sure you've heard of. You better make sure that you have sufficient diapers and wipes, because they go through that like waterwork, especially the first few weeks. They're just peeing and pooping all the time. Like, Preston has explosive poops, and I'm just like, where did this come from? And how is it coming out of something so small? Like, I just cannot believe that that is coming out of you. Like, geez, I just changed you. So there's that. And you know, honestly, I would say the biggest thing and what I'm just trying to practice is giving myself grace. Giving myself grace into understanding, like, this is all temporary. Cherish him this small while you can. He's not always going to be this tiny little baby. He's going to grow up, and you're going to look back and want to remember and capture these moments. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to not necessarily just focus on the challenges of each day, but primarily just focus on like the special and sweet moments of like when we're together, when he's cradled on my chest, when we're feeding, when we're on the rocking chair and I'm putting him to sleep. There's just so much. It's a lot. I would definitely say there's a lot of overwhelming moments, but for sure there has been so many special and beautiful moments, and I'm just continuing to look forward to what the rest of motherhood looks like with this baby. I've learned a lot of things, and even with that, I'm just dwelling on all the things that I've learned. I've learned of the importance and how special it is to have a motherhood community. Yeah, you agree? To have a community of other mothers as well. That has been so life-changing for me, being able to bond with other moms who also have newborns and just have deeper connections with existing coworkers and existing friends and family members. Now in just another level of bonding with motherhood, also bonding with even my mom, because it's just like, whoa, I appreciated you before, but to know that you did this with me is just so special. And I've also learned, like I said, to give myself grace, to slow things down, to ask for help, and that's a big one. I don't like to ask for help, and I don't really necessarily know why. I feel like I just don't like to burden other people with asking for help, and you know, like, everyone is dealing with something, and I know that, and I tend to always want to help people with their burdens, but I don't like to ask for help. So that has been something that I've had to learn to do, because it's like, mama, you cannot do it all, and you don't have to do it all. You do have help. You have people that want to help you, so just ask for that. So that's been a learning curve for me. Another big thing has been just being able to express how I'm feeling. I oftentimes don't like to express or show when I'm feeling vulnerable, or if I'm feeling sad, or if I'm feeling like overwhelmed or stressed out. Just because, once again, like I said, when it comes to asking for help, I don't know, I feel like sharing that with someone is kind of just like burdening them with it, because then now they know how I feel, and they can't really do anything about it. So it's kind of just like, well, what's the point of sharing with it? But one thing I've learned about expressing how I feel is just helping the other person have a perspective on how I feel, and in that they are able to address how they speak to or how they can help me, because I'm allowing them to know what I need help in, or where is it that I feel like I'm vulnerable in, or how I just think in general. And I feel like having that conversation and letting people know that is so important, because it allows other people to know how to communicate with you and how to help you in the way that you desire. So that has also been a life lesson that I've learned while being a mommy so far. This time period has also just allowed me to reflect on what I'm thankful for, and for sure so thankful for having a partner, for having my husband who is able to help with this baby. I know that there's a lot of women that have to do this on their own, and to you, if you are a single mom, I salute you, I pray over you, and I ask that God give you strength, peace, tranquility to be able to tackle that, because God knows how hard it is to have to be able to tackle it all on your own. But having a partner to just, even if it's like I'm taking care of baby and he's taking care of the house or vice versa, is so helpful to just be able to help alleviate that like tension and build up an overwhelming feeling of like I have so much that I need to do and I just can't get things done. Okay, so for any from the future popping in, you would not believe what happened. Literally 10 minutes or more of the footage of my 7-week update was out of focus. So the background was focused, but not my face. So there's a whole chunk that is missing, but we are in week 8. So I figured I'd give you just an update of 8 weeks postpartum going into 9 weeks. And then we'll just kind of continue and go right back into where we were. Listen, from the last week, 2 weeks since you and I were last chatting for the 7-week update, I did just gather some more thoughts on what the last 8 to almost 9 weeks of postpartum as a first-time mom have been. And I have, once again, my little notes on here just because I want to make sure that I hit each of them and not take too much time, obviously. But number one, I want to just circle back on emotions. I mentioned earlier in the video that the overarching emotion, I guess, that I can say I've been experiencing the most is just feeling overwhelmed. I must say though that now about to be week 9, it does feel a little better. I feel like I am getting my routine. I'm understanding the baby more. I'm understanding my body more. I feel like these bad boys are, regulating. We have a system of milk production and things like that, but you still feel that overwhelming feeling just because there's more on your plate. So you feel like there's so much that needs to get done. You need to take care of yourself. You need to take care of your baby. You need to take care of your husband, of your family, of your home. So there's still a lot to take care of. Another emotion that really caught me off guard, I feel like I knew that I would be feeling it, but not as intensely as I am, is just the overprotectiveness of the baby. Like, you always hear mama bear is coming out and mama bear this and mama bear that, but it's so insane like how quickly that feeling takes over. Like, you just want to protect them from everything and anything. You want to make sure that whoever's holding him is like holding his neck right, so it doesn't like accidentally like snap or go to the side, or his head is over, or his arms, his little fingers. Like, you're just on complete overprotectiveness mode. So that has definitely been an emotion that has taken over. And another one, which is kind of difficult to talk about, not necessarily for me, but just overall in general, I just feel like the emotion or feeling of just feeling alone, even if you are helped, even if you have a partner, even if you have family, even if you have people around you, you still somewhat feel alone. And it's just because, like I mentioned as well, you are the one doing everything, so that responsibility kind of just falls on you. No one else can produce the milk for you and feed your baby. No one else can do certain things that just your body naturally is in charge of doing. So in that, like in the nighttime feedings, when it's you waking up by yourself and you look over and you see your partner sleeping and you're glad that they're getting rest, but you are the one that has to continuously be waking up because your body is just on overdrive producing milk and food for your baby. So I would say when it comes to emotions, that's definitely been what I've been experiencing. And even still now, entering almost week 9, I can definitely still feel those emotions, but I definitely also do see them regulating, thank the good Lord. So excited to just see how that continues to progress as the baby gets older. Physically, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video as well, breastfeeding is just a whole journey on its own. And breastfeeding includes like pumping, like basically feeding your child with breast milk. It can be either you latching on or exclusively pumping. Like I mentioned, that's my journey. It has been a whole job of its own. I was actually talking with my husband not too long ago, and I was just kind of reflecting because this is just not what I expected, but I wanted to understand like what exactly is it that I did not expect, because the childcare portion of being a mom, I was like, I'm ready for this. Like, I know what this entails. I know it'll be challenging. Like, he'll be small, he'll be eating often, he'll be pooping often, like no sleep, all that stuff. Like, I felt like mentally I was ready for that. I knew what I expected. What I did not expect was the toll that it would take on me physically, and how it's essentially you're taking care of two babies. You're taking care of your baby, but you're also taking care of your body. And I would always see the post of them like mentioning like birth is like a rebirth of mom, and like, you know, you're discovering who you are and you're a whole different person. And I never really fully understood it, but now that I've experienced it, I definitely do. You are just going through so much internally, like physically, emotionally, mentally, that it is a whole adjustment. Like, you really have to just try and pull yourself together and try to understand, first of all, what is even happening, and then how to be able to adjust with all that, and then on top of all that, be able to supply for your little baby. So that has been a journey on its own. Also, the emotions, I would say, attached to milk supply. I touched on this earlier as well. When you are not able to supply the amount of milk that your baby needs, meaning that you have to like supplement with formula or anything like that, that can sometimes make you feel guilty. I know that when that first happened with me, I was just like, I don't want to give him formula, but I'm like, obviously I'm not gonna let him starve. And I'm just like, well, why am I not producing enough? Like, what am I doing wrong? Am I not eating sufficient? Am I not doing this? And I was also at one point just trying to like take all the things that they have, the yeast, they have the teas, they have this, they have that. And then at one point I was just like, you know what, I'm overthinking it, I'm doing too much, let me just let my body do what it was meant to do. And now reporting into almost week 9, we are regulating. Baby boy is eating a lot more. Like, he drinks like 3 to 4 ounces every 2 to 3 hours, so it's quite a lot. But I have noticed that like my body just naturally and on its own, not overthinking it, is just supplying and catching up with him, or at least trying to. So that brings me some comfort. But I know that I felt just so, like, I guess the word is guilty and bad, because I'm just like, why am I not able to produce him milk? Like, this is what my body is naturally supposed to do. But I also know that like stressing about it doesn't help or anything like that. So I really just was let go and was just like, you know what, God, I pray over my body, I pray over him, that you allow me to supply enough for him. And that is just that. And trying once again not to overthink a lot of things, which is also challenging on its own, because I am an overthinker. Listen, I'm learning a lot about myself, because prior to this, I'm just like, nope, I'm not an overthinker. No, I'm not this. No, I'm not that. But when put in situations such as this that really challenge those things, you come across and learn quite a few things about yourself. So there's that. We also then have the body image challenge. And thankfully, I don't feel like that really has been something that for me specifically has been a challenge or a struggle. But I do know that a lot of moms also experiment your new body. You have a whole new body. And for me, I haven't even tried to like, oh, let me get back into my high-waisted pants or this or that. Honestly, the mentality that I am going with is just, this is my new body. My waist is not what it used to be. My stomach is not what it used to be. Let me find a style. Let me find clothing pieces. Let me find colors, different things that work with my new body. And I'm having so much fun with it. I have like basically a whole new wardrobe of just different things that I feel like will work with the body that I have right now. So I am excited to get to those fashion videos. I promise that's coming. I'm trying to find time to be able to do all the content that I have. And now I'm just like, girl, all the free time you had before. I thought I would have so much more free time now, but no, I have like 2 full-time jobs, which is my baby and me. So I am trying to like get time to be able to do that, because I want to dive into dressing this postpartum body and still feeling chic and stylish and like me, but at the same time not trying to fit into what I had before, but rather take the body that I have on now and like rock it, if that makes any sense. So I've been just dabbling into colorful sweatsuits, which I love. So instead of just, you know, plain Jane, I'm getting just like colorful ones that have a little pop of color. we have fun dresses and tops and pants, and I've been really into like more low-rise baggy jeans like the mom ones, like just entering a whole different side of my style or fashion that suits the body type that I am now, to just help not put my own jeans on or put my own dress on and just be like, oh, my body doesn't look like it used to before. It didn't. You gave birth to a baby, you brought a miracle here to earth. Love your body and just go from there. The boobs also are completely different. They're a lot bigger. They do drop. So those are things that honestly are inevitable. So to try and just keep a positive mindset, you just have to accept that this is what you have. Definitely, if you want to and if you can, work out just, you know, to tighten and make sure that things get and stay a little firm. But at the end of the day, this is the body that birthed your baby, so appreciate it, learn it, and then find things that are suitable to it. Also, I do want to talk about the aspect of connecting with your baby. Now, I've seen posts and a bunch of different things of like when you first see your baby, it's just that instant connection and this and that, and I just also want to bring awareness that that's not necessarily always the case. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't love your baby, but at least for me, I just feel like it does take some time. You know that it's your baby, you birthed your baby, but honestly those first few weeks is just survival mode. So I feel like it's those little moments when the baby starts to acknowledge you and look at you and like really just stare at you, and you see how their behaviors change when they're with you versus when they're with someone else, is when you start to see like, oh my gosh, this is my baby, we're connecting, he sees me, he knows me. And that's when you just start to understand and just love your baby to a whole other level. And I can't even imagine like when he starts babbling and when he starts talking, or when he's able to like open up his arms to come to mama. Like those are moments that I'm just like, I know will take this to a whole other level. But definitely did just want to bring awareness to it, because I feel like it's always just mentioned as though the connection with your baby is just instant, and it's just like, oh my gosh, like you and I, we are, you know. And like I said, it definitely is a connection that you feel, but it's not the connection that I thought I would, which like I said would be more so when I can really see that he acknowledges and knows that I'm his mama. Lastly, I want to talk about 2 challenges that I also noticed within the last few weeks, and the first one I would say kind of goes hand in hand with the overprotectiveness, but it's just how difficult it is to just share your babies with others. Like that really is challenging, and although you try, even if it's specifically with family, like you went from carrying your baby in your stomach with you all the time, 24/7 in your belly, now he's out and everybody wants to see him, everybody wants to hold him, everybody wants to like spend time with him, and you're just like, no, I want to keep my baby to myself. And obviously you can't do that, because it's great for them to get to know the baby and to establish connections, but that feeling, man, it's a challenging one as a mom. Like you're just like, I'm not ready to have my baby out in the world and to not be in my arms. That definitely is such an intense feeling as well too, that you do have to kind of just like battle through and work through. And just like I said, understand that this is great for the baby, not necessarily yet because he's so small, he probably doesn't know, but also for just family members such as aunties and grandparents to be able to be there from the beginning. And you know, as the baby grows, he gets to identify who his immediate family is. And then the last thing that I definitely want to know is just that this is all trial and error. And I saw a post once before, and it was talking about how that's ideally what parenting is, trial and error. You just try things and hope for the best, and if it doesn't work out, you try a different method, and if it does, you're like, great, we'll stick to this. But this whole process has been trial and error, and I would say the same thing for pregnancy. It's just honestly, even from before, once you're trying to get pregnant, you're trying to see which way it works, and once you are pregnant, you're trying to see what food doesn't make you throw up, or what makes you feel good, or this or that. Trial and error when it comes to labor and delivery, because you don't know if you're gonna need a C-section or if you're gonna need an induction. And then on top of that, once the baby comes out, it is also a trial and error. We're trial and erroring diapers. You don't know which one works for your baby. Formula, if you have to supplement, then it comes for you. You have to figure out what pumping works for you if you have to do that. Are you gonna go the electric route? Are you gonna go the manual route? Are you gonna express? Are you gonna do this? Are you gonna do that? Trial and error. When is the baby sleeping? Like, the entire process of it all is a trial and error. So once you acknowledge that and accept that, I feel like it makes the challenge a bit more interesting, if that makes any sense, because it's kind of just like you are on the journey to figure out what is the best way to make whatever situation it is that you are in work. And so to just jump back into where I left off in the last video, I did just want to talk about how this whole entire journey has just allowed me to enter into a reflection period where I am able to connect with God on a much deeper level and honestly just be thankful for this experience, how it happened, and what continues to happen. And as always, I am just thankful for the opportunity to be able to have carried my baby. I know that there are so many women I know that are having fertility issues and would love to have a child. So I know the blessing that it is, and I always try to just be mindful of that when I find myself in that struggling mindset. And another thing that I love about this entire journey is just that it has allowed me to continue to pray for other women. So one thing that I like to do when I find myself in a challenging situation is that I always picture and put myself into the perspective of someone who is going through a worst case scenario. So for example, my baby was in the NICU for just 3 days, but there are women that have babies in NICUs for months and months at a time. Like how awful must that feel? How sad must that feel to not be able to hold your baby for so long? So while I was in my time period of, really being sad about those 3 days, it just makes me shift my perspective into thinking of others and also just praying of others who have it way worse or who have a more challenging experience when it comes to motherhood. So women that their babies are in the NICU for longer, or women who are having difficulties with fertility, women who have C-sections, so their recovery is a lot more different, women who have to leave their babies to go to work, we're talking weeks at a time, women who have babies with disabilities. There's just so many different routes that motherhood delivery can go. So that always helps with just shifting my perspective and allowing me to understand that although yes, it is a big challenge for me, it's so small in the grand scale of things, and just presenting other women and other babies to God and asking God to give them strength and to help them and to heal them. And also just when I look at my little baby and I saw him come out, I also just immediately thought of all the little tiny babies that are born in abusive and hostile homes, and immediately started to just pray over God's covering, his blood and protection over them, because I just can't fathom how people can do something to something so pure and so innocent and so beautiful. So this whole process has just honestly helped with shifting my perspective on things. I am a huge believer that when you pray for someone else, God takes care of your own problems. You coming before him with a selfless heart and not just necessarily talking about yourself and your problems and God, do this for me and do this for that, but rather just like, Lord, I present to you these moms, I present to you these babies, I present to you this situation, help them, rescue them, have mercy. In all that, he takes care of your stuff. So you don't even need to present your things to them. So that is definitely something that has come out of this entire journey and really helps me stay sane and also just enter into a positive mindset when I feel myself overwhelmed or burdened or like, oh my God, I don't know if I can continue to do this. And lastly, I also just wanted to add other little things that I do that help me stay sane throughout this time period. One thing for sure is just having my little alone time whenever my husband is around. So he's so good with that. He'll just take the baby and he's just like, have a few hours, do what you gotta do. And that can be taking a nice bath or watching a YouTube video or being in my beauty studio or creating some outfits or sleeping or just doing something that doesn't necessarily involve the baby, to just give me some time to regulate and to just, be able to do something that I enjoy. Another huge thing that I must say is finding and having a mom community. I have a girlfriend, Michelle, shout out to you, that her baby came exactly a month after mine, so we were pregnant around the same time, and just having that connection and checking in on each other. And although we are individually and physically experiencing it alone, we both were experiencing kind of the same thing together. So being able to share that, I feel like is so comforting in a time period where you feel like you are alone, in the sense that you're going through it alone, talking and knowing that there's someone else going through that same exact thing with you. They're waking up in the middle of the night having to pee multiple times. They're waking up in the middle of the night to go feed the baby. There's just something so comforting about that, and just connecting and knowing that so many women go through this and have multiple children, and that it's natural and that it's hard and that that's okay, but you're there for each other, has been something so amazing, honestly, to just be able to help push through, because we always all remind each other that this is temporary and it's not forever, and it's a blessing and it's beautiful and it's hard and it's challenging, but we will get through it. So that has honestly been such a great thing throughout this journey. Super thankful, of course, for my mom, who I'm just like, whoa, I have a whole other level of respect for you because you did this 3 times, but just a whole other respect for her as my mom, and also just having her around to be with the baby has been so helpful. My dad, my family, like it's just been really all helpful in just helping with the baby, and also each week that passes by kind of just makes this a little easier and a little smoother. And so jumping right back into where we left off, I do just want to mention that the reflection period that I speak of earlier is super important to me because it removes me from what I may be experiencing, and number one, allows me to understand and put into perspective that a lot of other people have it harder, have a greater challenge, and they're getting through it. And so focusing on that really helps me push through. Also just finding and doing things that I love. Obviously time is of the essence now, so something that would take me 30 minutes takes like 3 days to do because baby boy oftentimes wants to be on me, or he's sleeping but he wakes up and we need to feed him, and then I need to pump and all that good stuff. But just finding time to do all those little things that you still love and that remind you of who you are is so important. Because one thing that I definitely always mentioned that I wanted to do, and I'm really trying to hone onto that and stay true to that, is just remembering and remaining who I am and not letting motherhood strip away who I am. Now, I know that it'll change me. Obviously, it already has. My priorities shift. He is my priority. He is like obviously number one, but at the same time, I don't want to forget who I am. I still want to, get dressed. I still want to put my makeup on for me. I still want to do my art for me. So finding time to be able to do that, because I know that it can be very easy to just kind of fall into the idea of there is no time to do absolutely anything. So I'm trying to navigate that. I hear and I hope that it gets easier as the weeks go on by, as he gets a little bigger and his nap times are a little larger and he's a bit sturdier and stuff like that. But definitely wanting to just stay true to who I am and not lose myself in the process, which is once again why my channel also dwells on beauty and fashion, and I'm so excited to continue to dive on into that and just be able to do what I love to do while also just bringing little men along with the journey. Okay, so that was a chatty life update, but that has been what the last 7 weeks have been like. We turned 8 weeks on Wednesday, and then he's gonna be 2 months soon enough. And I would definitely say it feels like time is flying, but at the same time standing still. I've said it before, but it feels like the days are long and the weeks go by fast. So when I see it that way, I'm like, holy cow, we're about to have an 8-week-old. But it also does feel like it was an eternity ago when I gave birth to him. But I'm really excited to just continue to see how this journey goes. I know that there are lots and lots of moments where it seems so overwhelming, and literally like all you can do is just look up to the sky and ask God to really just come and intervene and help you and help your baby and give you guys both peace and tranquility, because at the moment you're just like, yo, what do I do? Like, what is going on? You can feel useless, you can feel hopeless, but just know that this is temporary. This is not going to be forever. And I'm saying it to you, but I say it to myself. This is what I tell myself all the time. This is temporary. He's not always going to be this small. It's not always going to be the way that it is now. Enjoy him now. Enjoy the precious moments, because before you know it, he's going to be a grown-up and he'll have his own little family, and that's just the cycle of life. So it's really what I'm trying to be able to do. Just be present in the moment, enjoying him, enjoying his little cuddles, enjoying his cute little like laugh and his little smile and his little scrunch, and just taking each day as it goes. Thank God for iced coffee, make one every single day, and not stressing things that I can control. And that's also been a big lesson for me, because I like to be in control of things. I discovered that about myself. I feel like I never really wanted to fully admit it, but I do. I like to be in control of things, and it's just because you kind of just know what's gonna happen or have an idea of what's gonna happen, and when you don't, you can't really like prep or prepare for anything. And that always makes me feel like, oh my gosh, I need to be at least prepared a little bit. And with motherhood, it's just like there is no preparing. Like, you literally just go with the flow. You learn and love your baby, and you take each day as it comes, and you do the best that you can, and that's just that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you being here, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.